Howdy everybody, this is Robert Early with Atlas Debate Resources and welcome back to the channel. For today's video, it's designed specifically for novices, and for those novices, it's those who are in the UIL speech and debate world trying to decide between CX and Lincoln-Douglas debate, the two primary forms of debate in UIL. There's another third called Congress, but that's a different ballgame. For today we're talking about these two, because these two come into conflict the most. And like it says on the screen, this is for you worried novices out there, which one fits me the best. So hopefully this is a resource to help you out. So to get started with, we're going to talk about kind of the superficial, the extremities of the differences between the two. CX stands for cross-examination debate. It is a partnered debate, so it's going to be two people versus two people, and it covers something called the stock issues. And what I mean by that is in CX, you're going to formulate a plan. And in that plan, you have to discuss what the harms of it are, what makes the plan inherent or what makes it potentially not being put into place, what makes it topical or on topic, what makes it a significant plan, why we should put it into place, and what the plan actually solves for and if it solves for the issue at hand. In addition, CX is an older style debate. In fact, it is one of the first UIL competitions. And with that, there's lots of set paradigms and strategies, meaning because it's been around for so long, there's a lot of strict labels. You hear things like a tab judge or a stock judge or a progressive judge. And all of these things you can look up and ask and they'll tell you what it all means. In addition, something that's really important about CX that makes it different than LD is that it is a very highly professional and quick tone. CX is designed for the courtroom and for congressional meetings. It's designed to get a lot of information out quickly, super highly professional, and typically impersonal. Lincoln-Douglas debate, or LD, on the other hand, is a single debate, meaning instead of having the partners that CX has, LD gets one person versus one person, which, while on the one hand means you have a little bit more confidence that you're going to need, it also means that the debate itself is a lot shorter, because there's a lot less that you're covering. Also, there are no set stock issues like you have in CX, so there's not really win or loss. You kind of rules set in place to begin with. You kind of create your rules as you go in the round. And instead of stock issues, the big win-loss thing is emphasis on burdens. With the affirmative having the burden of proof, having to prove something is true, and the negative having the burden of clash. So clashing with the affirmative, negating, disproving what they're saying. And we'll cover that more when we talk about the fundamental difference. Since LD is the newer kind, it's always constantly evolving, and you'll see later why. It constantly changes. In fact, when I came in as a novice just like you, only 4 years ago, the LD world is completely different than the LD world I saw by the time I was aging out when I was graduating. So always keep on your toes, watch what is going on, and don't be afraid to learn and ask questions. And finally, like we talked about CX, which is a highly professional, quick tone, Lincoln-Douglas is a very speaking emphasis, a very conversational tone. Lincoln-Douglas debate is designed to be done literally in a group of front of people or to change someone's mind that you meet. Because of that, you have to be less of super highly professional. You have to still be professional, mind you, but more conversational, as if you're talking with someone, trying to discuss with them. And with that, you have to have a lot of emphasis on speaking, which is why speaker points tend to mean a lot more in LD than it does for CX. But like I said, these are kind of the flashy, like my little video down here, these are like the flashy, extraneous, on the outside, superficial differences between the two. Ultimately, the biggest difference to be found is a fundamental one. And as you can see here, this is another superficial one. CX resolutions, super long. LD resolutions, super short. But it's in these resolutions that we find the fundamental difference. And it's not the length. So if we look at CX, ultimately the difference comes in the verb and just the stylage of what it's writing. So I'll read this resolution for you. Resolved. The United States federal government to substantially increase its security cooperation with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in one or more of the following areas: artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and cybersecurity. So what we see here is that this resolution is saying that this needs to be done. And what you're going to be doing as a CX debater is you're going to plan out how it should be done. Or on the flip side of things, the negative, you're going to show why either it should not be done because it's a disadvantage, or you're going to show a counter way of doing it that maybe the resolution or the affirmative is saying how to do it. So ultimately what it's asking you, every resolution CX is asking you to debate whether or not something should be done. And that something is always going to be policy. LD, on the other hand, if you look at that, it's a lot shorter. It simply says the benefits of genetically modified food outweigh the risks. What that is just a simple statement. So instead of debating whether or not something should be done, what LD is asking you to do is debate whether or not this statement is true or not true, correct, incorrect, right, or wrong. On the affirmative side, that's where your burden of proof is. You're proving that this statement, as it's phrased, is correct, absolutely correct. Whereas in the negative, you're providing this clash to negate and disprove this statement, and ultimately disproving the affirmative. So, with that in mind, that's a lot of information really quickly. Let's kind of tie it all back into what we're discussing, kind of give yourself a breath of fresh air. And this comes back into what all this means. How do I actually choose? So ultimately, CX is a style built on case building, advocation, and trying to get something done. Very reminiscent of Model UN and even Congress in a sense. And specifically, again, this thing being done is enacting or revising a policy. So if you like pitching an idea, you like going out, coming up with plans, making sure they get done, CX is the one for you. If you're very realistic, very logic-oriented, again, this goes well for you in CX because you're trying to show this plan should go into place or why it shouldn't go into place. Lincoln Douglas, LD, on the other hand, is much more built on argumentation, persuasion, and trying to prove something right or wrong. Again, this right or wrong being the resolution, which means that Lincoln Douglas debate, while it's not a debate of policy or enactment, tends to be a debate of philosophy, in the sense of we're trying to prove whether this is right or wrong, and how we do that is up to us. Not necessarily we're trying to do something, just the right or wrong. The best way to analyze it is LD is the why to CX is how. So in the very beginning, we had to think of a question of why. Why do we care? Why should we do this? And that's what LD did. That was your philosophers. And then CX was your actual groundbreakers. And they took the why of the LDers and they're going to make the how. Both are important. Both are vital. So that's where you got to decide for yourself. Do you want to be some more persuasive, analytical, just questioning is LD? Whereas if you want to actually see something done, create a policy, and believe yourself to be changing the world, CX is for you. But whether you choose LD or CX, Atlas Debate Resources is always going to be here for you. Whatever you'd like to do, I'm happy to help. Your coach is happy to help. And both answers are just as right as the other. So whether you choose CX or LD, if you find yourself needing help, or maybe your shoulders get a little too heavy, shoot by Atlas Debate Resources. We're more than happy to take a burden off of your shoulders. Thank you for your time today. I hope this video helped you out. If there's some more stuff you'd like to see in the future, maybe some more questions, leave a comment below. Like, share, all of that good stuff, because the more you respond, the more I'm able to help you. So with that in mind, thank you for your time today. Have a wonderful day, and make sure to remember, Atlas is here for you to take a burden off of your shoulders. Thank you.